I want to invite the Minister to get us underway. We're very, very lucky to have with us the Minister of State with responsibility for rural economic development and rural transport, Anne Phelan. Anne was first elected to Kilkenny County Council in 2004 and was elected to the Dáil on her first attempt in 2011. And I believe she was the first woman to be elected to the Dáil from Carlow Kilkenny in the history of the state, so a trailblazer in Carlow Kilkenny, certainly. She's been in her current job since July of last year, and one of her main responsibilities is the implementation of the CEDRA report on rural development, a very interesting project and a very important one for rural Ireland. So without any further ado, could I invite Minister Anne Phelan to address you.
Thank you very much, David. And I am absolutely delighted to be here in Croke Park this morning to address you all here and deliver the keynote address. I'm delighted to open the Wheels annual conference, and I thank Deirdre Garvey very, very much for giving me the opportunity to address you all here this morning. I'm not normally in Croke Park in a purple jacket. I'm usually in Croke Park when I'm here in my black and amber jersey on that Sunday. I'm not being a bit parochial at all, am I? No. But I'm not sure if we're going to be here this year. But anyway, the best of luck. And if you were to talk about people giving back to their community, you know, those teams in that, play hurling, for not being paid, they do great justice to their community and indeed give us great entertainment throughout the whole year. And I'm delighted to say that here in Croke Park this morning. Volunteers are people who have a sense of social concern, of shared values, who have a sense of pride in their place and a sense of service towards their community. Each act binds and unifies our society in a common purpose and makes it a better place for its entire people. Voluntary participation is at the very heart of active citizenship and enriches and energises our democracy. I would like to say a few words about the value of volunteering. There is a value to the individual volunteering with physical and mental health benefits, social benefits, learning new skills and increasing employability. A recent LinkedIn survey of hiring managers showed that 40% consider volunteering experience equal in value to professional experience. And I know that when Irish people tend to fill in their CVs, they tend not to fill in the areas where it says about the volunteering work that they do. And I do know that in particular in America, when you fill in your CV, you have to fill in the areas where you have a volunteer experience because they consider that to be of very, very high value. So I would appeal to anybody out there who are filling in their CVs, who are involved in their community. It is very important work that you do, and it does have not only a social value, but there is also an economic value to that. There is a value to the organisation that takes on a volunteer. Thousands of non-profit organisations working on causes as varied as the environment, youth, health, arts, homelessness rely on volunteers and would not be able to deliver their mission without them. Ireland would look very different without the volunteers and the organisations that rely on them. There is also a value to society. Volunteering contributes to active citizenship and social integration. 30% of the volunteers placed through the network of volunteer centres funded by my department in 2014 were migrants and overseas visitors. Volunteering is a great way to make friends, learn English, and integrate into the community. There is a significant economic and monetary value. Studies have shown that volunteering is very successful in leading to employment. There are countless stories of individuals who have gained paid employment through volunteering. And that is why I stress again, it's very important to put that down on your CV because it does have a significant value. Volunteering contributes to €1 billion to Ireland annually. On economic value, it's easy to focus on quantifiable numbers, and as politicians, we're all extremely interested in quantifiable numbers. But the value of volunteering is much larger than just the economic value. It is the contribution to the individuals, it is the contribution to the organisations, to society in general, and it does have a real impact in people's everyday lives on a particularly human level. So it's very important work that is carried out. Until 2011, the department's connections with the non-for-profit sector would have been with the social housing area and with environmental and social organisations engaged with environment and sustainable development issues. The expansion and renaming of the department has emphasised the size and scale of the sector, and we have been and will continue to be keen to work with you for the benefit of all. The view of the government in 2011 was very clear. There is scope to enhance the coordination of services and resources at community level. Since that time, the relationship between statutory agencies, local government and local community organisations has been developed, and good foundations for the better delivery of services have now been laid so that those services can be delivered in a much more efficient way. We have a vibrant and diverse community and a diverse voluntary sector in this country. Thousands of charities and community organisations contribute each and every day to Irish life in areas such as social policy, social welfare, health services, unemployment, women, ethnic minorities, community development, informal and adult education, housing and homelessness, children and youth, older people, intellectual and physical disability, human rights, arts and culture, the environment, climate change and sports. So I think that gives you just some idea of how integrated you are into Irish life and Irish society. The diversity of areas in which you all work and devote yourselves for the improvement of all our citizens. The ongoing challenge is to build on the progress made to date and to value and protect the hard work for so many in our communities. The government is engaged in a process of reforming local government to make it the main vehicle of governance and public service at local level, resulting in a better quality and more integrated service delivery with enhanced local accountability through the local government democratic processes. As part of the reform programme, the government is pursuing a closer alignment of local government and local development, and proposals to deliver on this are included in that document, Putting People First, the action programme for effective local government, which was approved by the government in October 2012. The Local Government Reform Act 2014 underpins these proposals and provides for the establishment of local community development committees. And I'm not sure if you're all aware with the local LCDC structure. Indeed, perhaps many of you are now sitting on the local LCD structure. It is now the one-stop shop for how we communicate through local government, through the communities. It is intended that the LCDCs will bring about a more coherent and joined-up approach to publicly funded programme delivery in the areas of economic, social and community development. It is in line with the bottoms-up approach, and it all relates to the community. Significant progress has been made in establishing LCDCs in all 31 local authorities. LCDCs now meet regularly. They have commenced work on their local economic and community plans, and it is intended that these plans will be in place by the end of December 2015. These plans will facilitate closer working relationships between all development agencies at local level, and should bring greater coordination to the broad range of local and community development activity in each LCDC area. So the idea is that the LCDC is the connection between the community and local government, where decisions that affect the community are being made. LCDCs have also successfully managed the tendering of my department's new social inclusion and community activation programme at local level. The tendering process is now complete and we are into the implementation phase, and I am pleased with the progress that has been made to commence programme delivery on the 1st of April, so that people who needed those services, there was no hold up in that the service was delivered from the 1st of April. LCDCs will be the central to the delivery of the LEADER programme 2014 to 2020. My department recently commenced a public consultation on a proposed framework policy for local and community development. The purpose of the policy is to underpin a whole of government approach to the planning, oversight and delivery of local and community development programmes at national and local level. Many of the organisations present here today will have made contributions to that consultation process. When approved, it will provide a framework for supporting and investing in community development actions and approaches that empower communities to participate in and influence decision-making processes and bring about change for the benefit of people within those communities. This will benefit all communities in Ireland. In 2014, the Working Group on Citizen Engagement with Local Government made recommendations on more extensive and diverse input by citizens into decision-making processes at local government level as part of the Local Government Reform Programme. It recommended the setting up of public participation networks, or now shortened to the PPN structure, across the local government sector. These networks will be the main link through which the local authority connects with the community and voluntary social inclusion and environmental sectors, without prejudice to other community consultation processes. Where community representation is to be provided on appropriate committees of the local authority, such as SPCs or the Special Policy Committees or local community development committees, it will be sourced through the PPN structure. The public participation network will play a critical role in facilitating greater engagement between citizens, communities and local government. And this is where indeed most communities first meet, where policy decisions are taken. Community and citizen engagement will require a considerable shift in cultural perspective and outlook, and I know that is going to be part of some of your discussions here this morning, so I will be particularly interested in hearing how that goes. The standard of engagement with the various communities of interest and citizens is as likely to be placed under the microscope as the actual delivery of the service, so that the standard of engagement will be looked at as well. It's not just how services are delivered, but what is the standard of the engagement? How will the community benefit from that standard of engagement? And this is also a huge opportunity for local government. And indeed, I have come up through the local government system, and I know that sometimes the local government comes in for a lot of bashing by our citizens. So, it's incumbent now on the local authorities. We have changed the system so that the communities can really feel part of that local government system, part of that local democracy. And this is where the citizen first meets the decision makers. The aim of the new structures is to enable community organisations to articulate a diverse range of views and interests within the local government system, and to allow a diversity of voices and interests to be facilitated and involved in the decision-making processes of the local authority. And this is where it really affects people in their real real time. It affects people in real time in their daily lives, and it's great to see that that process is now in motion. In public life, people have a right to influence the decisions that affect their life and their communities, and they are now being placed at the centre of democracy. Open and inclusive policy making enhances transparency and accountability and builds civic capacity. And perhaps sometimes I think that in Ireland, we take these processes for granted. And I was also a member of the OECD, not the OECD, the OSCEPA. And that was a structure where, there was a lot of countries, I suppose we would have called them, I'm probably showing my age now, Eastern Bloc countries, where these processes were not openly available to those people, that there was still a lot of very heavy-handed approaches by their government. It was a very top-down approach, very, very centrally controlled. So I think sometimes it's important to point out in Ireland that, we have freedom of speech, that the government is now looking at trying to get a very, very bottoms-up approach with communities, so the communities have their say in how decisions are made that affect them. I think that is very, very important, and that is a very, very good and close association for communities and organisations to have with their local government structure. As part of my assignment to the Department of the Environment, I have taken on some additional responsibilities, and we have lots and lots of talk about how long my title is becoming now, so we've kind of shortened it for convenience. It's include the implementation of the leader elements of the Rural Development Programme, or the RDP, I think it's commonly known throughout Ireland as. Leader is delivered using a community-led approach, where it is the rural communities themselves, they decide themselves what is needed in their communities. And that is how they participate in the development of their own community. The communities come together, they decide what they need, they talk about their own action plan, and that is how LEADER is the fund that supports those communities. LEADER has formed an integral part of the support framework for rural Ireland since it began in the 1990s. The most recent programme, covering 2007 to 2013, has provided 340 million to rural communities since it commenced in 2009. Since then, almost 9,000 enterprises have been supported and more than 4,000 jobs created. So it's not an insignificant programme. The support is delivered through the framework of local development strategies implemented by local action groups. The current round of LEADER is coming to a close, and the selection process for LEADER strategies for 2014 to 2020 programme period is commencing, and we have looked for expressions of interest. I expect to have these strategies operational in rural areas by the end of 2015. The LEADER element of the Rural Development Programme will provide 250 million in financial resources for rural areas, helping them to address areas such as poverty, social inclusion, and the economic development of rural Ireland. And again, I cannot emphasise that this is a bottoms-up approach. I have responsibility for managing the implementations of the 34 recommendations contained in the report of the Commission for Economic Development of Rural Areas, the CEDRA report as it is now being referred to. The recommendations take a wide-ranging and long-term view of what is required to support rural Ireland and to support economic development in Ireland in the future. With my government colleagues, I am committed to implementing them for the long-term benefit of communities across Ireland. Charity organisations play an important role in our society, and there is no community in Ireland that has not been enriched in some way by these organisations. The Forum on Philanthropy and Fundraising, an initiative of government which is facilitated by my department, aims to advance understanding, promote dialogue, and inform the policy agenda on philanthropy and fundraising. The Forum made recommendations to grow and develop the sector in 2012. In implementing the recommendations of the Forum, we have the opportunity to substantially increase the level of private sector investment by creating a favourable environment for philanthropy in Ireland and developing fundraising capacity. Increasing investment in the sector in the future in partnership between the state and the philanthropic sector will generate increased employment, build social capital and support the government's agenda on national reform and on local reform. This sector plays a significant social role in all communities by providing support and assistance to the community, improve education outcomes for disadvantaged children, provide additional healthcare facilities and care of the aged, which will supplement rather than replace the existing state supports in all of these areas. Atlantic Philanthropies and One Foundation have had a profound effect in Ireland on education, research, services for the elderly and the lives of young children. As they exit the sector, they will be difficult to replace. My department is providing support for a social innovation fund. The fund will support the establishment and growth of social innovations with the potential for transformation on critical social issues facing Ireland. Examples on unemployment and on the environment. The fund will provide growth capital to Ireland's best social innovators and innovations, investing in solutions to social problems and creating jobs. The Forum's vision for the period ahead is that the role and legitimacy of the contribution of philanthropy and strategic charitable fundraising to Irish society will be reinforced, properly understood, which is not always the case, and will also be valued. I welcome the focus today on the issue of governance. Trust in the sector was undermined with a number of highly publicised issues in the media over recent years, all relating to poor governance. People who give generously to worthy causes have a right to know that their money is being used for the intended purpose. Openness and transparency are the key to reviving the community support for the sector. I know that the Wheel and other organisations encourage all community, voluntary and charitable organisations to fully adopt the governance code for your sector, and I would also like to add my encouragement to this. And it's an easy sell when there is openness and transparency, and then nobody can point the finger at you. While the role of community, voluntary and charitable organisations is undoubtedly a vital one, equally as important is the need to ensure that all organisations are run well, run responsibly, and that they are rewarded for their compliance through building exemplary reputations. We all know only too well how important reputation is for the sector, and the damage that can be done to an organisation where there is reputational damage can be quite significant. We all want to have a sector that is transparent, risk-averse, lean, well-run, and achieves its goals for the benefit of all. And I know, particularly in the political system, in some ways, the only thing you can do and the only thing that you really hold is your political reputation. And sometimes, you know, that reputation is extremely important to politicians because you can only trade on your good name. And in some ways, that is the only thing that we can actually sell to people is your politically good reputation. So I understand at first hand how important that reputation is. Again, I would encourage and strongly suggest that all organisations should adopt the governance code. This will enhance the credibility of the organisation, the sector, and indeed of the code itself. I would also like to thank Board Match Ireland, Business in the Community Ireland, the Carmichael Centre, Clan Credo, the Disability Federation of Ireland, ICTR, Volunteer Ireland, and the Wheel for their work in developing the governance code. I congratulate them on their focus on improving governance practice across the community and voluntary sector in Ireland. I hope and I'm sure that the day will be interesting and rewarding for all participants, and I wish you well into the future. And I've actually, I had a meeting in the department this morning, but I've asked could they push out the meeting because I wanted to stay for a little while to see, so that I can hear, what people are saying. And I was delighted to hear Deirdre Allwright this morning to say that this morning is about, challenging ideas, and it's not just about, all of us being in our boxes. This morning now is for you to come out, say your piece, and get your idea, out there, get it challenged. I know we all feel challenged from time to time, but it's very important that we have dialogue. So I would like to encourage you this morning to come out, be open and frank, and be brave. Thank you very much. Continue good luck.